In the 1960s, American muscle cars weren't just designed, they were survived. Before computer simulations existed, the only way to see if a V8 would explode or a frame would snap was to drive it until it did. This was an era of mechanical Darwinism, where engineers used slide rules and raw courage to push machines to the absolute breaking point. Behind the chrome and horsepower lies a hidden history of brutal testing that most manufacturers would never admit to today. To understand how these legends were truly born, we have to go back to the place where destruction was the only goal. In 1924, General Motors realized that public roads were far too safe to truly test a car's limits. They opened the industry's first dedicated proving ground in Milford, Michigan, a sprawling 1,125-acre facility designed for controlled, high-speed destruction. By the 1960s, this site had evolved into a nightmare for any prototype, featuring a massive 4.5-mile circular track where vehicles were run at sustained top speeds for weeks on end. This wasn't a race. It was an attempt to compress years of customer wear into a single brutal month of continuous mechanical torture. If a suspension was going to fail or a frame was going to flex under pressure, the Milford loops were designed to find that flaw violently. In the 1960s, data logging didn't happen on a hard drive. It happened in the notebook of an engineer sitting in the passenger seat. These men were the real-time sensors for every prototype, relying on their own senses to feel a vibration or hear a change in engine pitch before a catastrophic failure occurred. Their primary tools were crude mechanical gauges, stopwatches, and paper rolls that scratched out lines to represent speed and pressure. There was no remote telemetry or digital safety net to warn them when a car was about to lose a wheel at 100 miles per hour. Every breakthrough in reliability came from a human being willing to stay in the car while it was being shaken to pieces. This seat-of-the-pants engineering is why classic cars have a specific mechanical feel that modern software simply cannot replicate. In the 1960s, a General Motors V8 didn't just leave the factory, it earned its survival through a 200-hour dyno cell execution. This wasn't a steady cruise, but a brutal cycle that swung the engine between peak torque and peak horsepower every 5 minutes, day and night. Every few hours, the throttle was slammed shut to idle, then pinned back to maximum RPM within 10 seconds to shock the internal components. There were no computer sensors to back off the timing if the metal started to fatigue or the oil thinned out. If a rod bearing was going to melt or a piston crown was going to crack, it happened right there in the dyno room. This relentless mechanical punishment is the only reason engines like the 396 and 427 are still considered bulletproof decades later. Over at Ford, the engineering team wasn't just guessing how their 427 Big Block would handle the world's most famous endurance race. They built a specialized dyno that could literally play a recording of the entire 24 hours of Le Mans. This machine would cycle the throttle and gears to match every corner and straightaway of the French circuit, pushing the engine through a simulated race while it sat in a lab. If a component was going to vibrate into pieces at 200 miles per hour on the Mulsanne Straight, the engineers found it in Michigan first. This level of mechanical simulation was the only way to find failures that a slide rule could never predict. By the time the GT40 hit the track, its heart had already raced thousands of miles in total isolation. Safety testing in the 1960s was a dark science that required data no computer could provide. To understand how a human body reacted to a high-speed impact, researchers at universities like Wayne State and UCLA turned to biological substitutes. They utilized human cadavers and pigs, often dropping them down elevator shafts or strapping them into vehicles to measure the exact force needed to fracture a skull. It was a gruesome necessity because, at the time, there were no sophisticated crash test dummies that could mimic human bone density or internal organ placement. This research provided the first real biomechanical data on how dashboards and steering wheels actually killed drivers. While controversial and unsettling to look back on today, these brutal experiments were the only reason engineers finally understood the fatal physics of a car crash. By 1964, a silent killer had claimed over 1 million lives in the American automotive industry, the steering column. In a head-on collision, the solid steel shaft of the steering wheel acted like a literal spear, impaling the driver before the car even stopped moving. To solve this, engineers at General Motors developed the collapsible steering column, a piece of hardware designed to compress like an accordion upon impact. This wasn't a mandated safety feature from a government agency, but a desperate engineering fix born from the horrifying data gathered at Milford. When it finally debuted, it cut the risk of a fatal chest injury by a staggering 50% overnight. It remains one of the most effective, yet overlooked, life-saving innovations in the history of the muscle car era. In the 1960s, a British-born genius named Maurice Olley transformed the way American cars glided over the pavement. He was the first to realize that suspension engineering wasn't just about springs and shocks, but about how the human body perceives motion. Olley developed a specialized vocabulary to describe every vibration, using terms like jounce, float, and wallow to diagnose a car's behavior. There were no digital sensors to measure ride quality, so engineers had to be trained to feel the road and report back with surgical precision. This iterative process of human feedback is the secret behind the legendary cloud-like ride of full-size 1960s cruisers. By turning subjective comfort into a repeatable science, Olley ensured that a Cadillac or a Buick felt like nothing else on the planet. In the 1960s, a car's design was born in a styling studio, not a wind tunnel. Chrysler's lead designer, Bill Mitchell, famously stated that cars were shaped by artists, not physics, until the Dodge Charger hit 170 miles per hour at Daytona. At those speeds, drivers reported that the front end would literally lift off the ground, making the car nearly impossible to steer. Without computer modeling to find the solution, engineers built small-scale clay models and physically reshaped them in a wind tunnel using smoke to visualize the air. This desperate attempt to fix a dangerous aerodynamic flaw led to the creation of the iconic nose cone and the towering rear wing of the Charger Daytona. It wasn't a marketing gimmick or a styling choice. It was a functional solution to a life-threatening stability problem discovered at the absolute limit. The engines of the 1960s weren't overbuilt by accident. They were overbuilt because the math of the era was incomplete. Because engineers couldn't use a computer to find the absolute minimum amount of metal required for a part to function, they leaned toward massive overkill. If a crankshaft showed even a hint of stress during a 200-hour torture test, they didn't refine the chemical composition. They simply made the journals larger and the casting heavier. This brute force philosophy is exactly why a 426 Hemi or a 455 Oldsmobile can be pulled from a rusted-out barn today and brought back to life with basic tools. Modern engines are designed to be just strong enough to save weight and fuel, which often makes them feel like disposable appliances compared to these heavy metal survivors. The physical validation of the 1960s created a level of mechanical soul that digital precision can't seem to replicate. The engines and machines we still celebrate today weren't polished by algorithms. They were forged through a process of intentional mechanical destruction. From the brutal 200-hour dyno runs to the chilling reality of early safety testing, the legends of the 1960s were earned, not calculated. While modern engineering is safer and more efficient, it lacks the raw, overbuilt soul of a car designed by men who were willing to break everything to find the truth. It makes you wonder, in a world where everything is simulated to perfection, have we lost the bulletproof character that only comes from real-world suffering?